everybody today. We're going to build our own emotional toolbox. I'm Debbie Walter with the library, and we're so happy that Diane Lang, who is a therapist, educator, and life coach, is joining us today. Diane? Oh, please, one more thing. Please mute yourself if you're not muted. And second of all, please put all your questions in chat. There will be time for plenty of them. Thank you.
Okay, I'm just going to put my PowerPoint up and then we will get started. Just didn't want to put it up while you were talking, so just give me 1 second and we will get moving and grooving. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see the PowerPoint. If you have any problems, just let us know. You can put it up on the chat board. And I just wanted to say thank you so much to Union Public Library for having me. Today we're talking about self-care, building your emotional toolbox. And we're going to talk a little bit about self-care, what it is, some questions to ask yourself, and then go over some tools. So with self-care, just a really important topic. You know, I have so many clients. I've been in the field for 20 years, both as a therapist, and I've also been teaching college at Montclair State for over 15 years now. And no matter if it's my students who are in their late teens, early 20s, or my clients who go all the way up to their late 70s, self-care always seems to be an issue, especially for women. Not that men don't have it, but more women do. We tend to put ourselves on the bottom of the priority list. And that is something that we really need to change for a few reasons. But the really major reason, especially now that we're in the middle of COVID and, you know, the second wave, is that we really want to make sure we're taking care of ourselves, because when we are stressed out, when we are anxious, when we don't take care of ourselves, we lower our immune systems and we raise our cortisol levels, our stress hormone. And when that happens, we're more prone to catch every cold, flu, pneumonia, COVID, whatever comes our way. So self-care is just such an important topic. So I hope that everybody here is thinking about, you know, really making self-care a priority, especially now that we're in the new year. And not that you have to use the new year for, you know, new year goals or resolutions. Every day is a fresh start. But I'm hoping for the new year that most people will make self-care one of their top priorities or goals for the new year. So here we start with a little bit of self-care. So self-care, it's provided for you, by you. Really important. So a lot of people will say, I don't really know what self-care is. But self-care is really, it's absolutely what we're saying. It's for you, by you. And what that means is it's individual. Everybody has a different definition of what self-care is, what self-care means to them, how they define self-care. So you really want to think about identifying your own needs. And then once you have those needs met, you could start taking steps to get there. But self-care is so important. Now, these are some of the reasons why you should take care of yourself or put yourself first. One, you can't give what you don't have. I just want to repeat that, because even for myself, and even though I know that self-care is so important, I still tend to find myself sometimes on the bottom of that priority list. And it's really important to just remember, you can't give what you don't have. Everyone around you benefits from your self-care. When you take better care of yourself and you're in a better place mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, it means you are in a better place for everybody around you. So you can be the best person, the best parent, the best caregiver, the best teacher, librarian, whatever it is that you do. When we don't take care of ourselves, we hit what we call burnout. And we've always talked about burnout. You know, certain careers are more prone to burnout, like teachers, social workers, counselors. And then there's also corporate burnout. But now with COVID, right, going back to March, remember when COVID was just going to be 2 weeks to about a month? Here we are almost 11 months later, right? Crazy, right? But in that, we've hit what's called pandemic burnout. And I'm not sure if you ever heard of it, but it's really what so many of us have. They say this year alone, in 2020, 69% of people felt pandemic burnout. And burnout is when you're in a place where you're emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually burnt out. And that burnout can last a few days, it can last a few months. And that's really important. We don't want to hit that burnout, because when we're burnout, we just can't do anything. We are just so fatigued in every area of our life. And if you're noticing you have pandemic burnout, which would be so normal at a time like this, and the reason being is a lot of us are hitting pandemic burnout because what's happened, which is kind of what happened with 9/11, is that we literally are hearing about the pandemic, COVID, masks, 6 feet distance, the vaccine, 24 hours a day. I had my students do this. This was back in the end of November. I had them watch a 30-minute show, whether it was they were allowed to pick cable or one of your major networks, 2, 4, 7, one of those. And in this 30-minute show, the majority of shows, you only got about 18 or 19 minutes of the actual show. The other 10 to 12 minutes were just commercials or PSAs. And the hard part about this, it was 85 or 86% of those commercials were all COVID related. So whether it was about COVID, whether it's about social distancing, the shot, staying home, or even the brands like Lexus and Toyota, they were doing commercials and they bring COVID into it. And it was all about, making sure you were safe due to COVID. So between that, the news, you Google what's on the front page of the paper, people were just getting so burnt out. It was just playing over and over and over again, 24 hours a day. And that was just so much for people. And it causes a lot of stress, anxiety. It provokes fear because of all the uncertainty. So it's normal for us to actually burn out, but you want to know if you're getting to that place. And self-care is a priority so we don't burn out. So just remembering, one of the main reasons you want to take care of yourself is because you can't give what you don't have. So you can't be that good parent, that good role model, that good teacher, that good caregiver, whatever it is, if you're not taking care of yourself first. The next reason is moods and emotions are completely scientifically contagious. And negativity is actually way more contagious than positivity. So we all have what's called a negative bias. Everybody has it, it's inherited, it's genetic. And what that negative bias does is it makes us prone to the negativity. It makes us lean into the negativity, notice it, focus in on it. Now, with this negative bias, a lot of us will stay stuck in the negative. But the good news is we have control over our mindset and we don't have to stay there. But you have to notice if you're there or not. Now, being that most of us stay in that negative, that's something to worry about because the moods and emotions are completely contagious. So if you are one of those positive, optimistic people and you go into a group of people, doesn't matter how big the group is, 2 people, 4 people, 6 people, and everybody is negative around you, if you go in thinking you're going to lift them up, just want to warn you, they're going to bring you down before you lift them up. And this is the exact ratio. When we have negative emotions, right? Anger, sadness, anxiety, stress, confusion, hurt, whatever they are, when we have them, and we call them negative, but just so you know, they are normal emotions and everybody has them. But when we have those negative emotions, we need 3 positive emotions to balance out that negative. That's a really scary number to have. We need 3 positive emotions, such as gratitude, love, kindness. I'll go a little bit more into that, but we need 3 positive emotions to balance out that negative one. The people around you will feel it. So let's say I came in a room, let's say we were in this event and it was live. Remember those good old days, right? When we had workshops because they were in person. If I came in the room and I was in a really bad mood or a good mood, it would take you, the person in the room just watching me, about 30 seconds to a minute to notice my mood. It's that quick that you notice it. But my mood starts becoming your mood in about 5 to 10 minutes. That's how quick the mood starts taking over. So if I'm in a bad mood, a good mood, it's going to spread. But this is the thing. If I come into a room and I'm in a really bad mood and I'm really negative, I affect 3 to 4 people instantly. If I'm in a really great mood, I only affect 1 or 2 people because of that negative bias. And I'll put it on the chat board if you've never heard of the negative bias. And a great way to think about the negative bias is this. Do you ever have a day that 99% of your day was great? 99%. 1%, not so good. Maybe something small happened, you got stuck in traffic, you couldn't find parking, it started raining on you, something small, you spilt your coffee, nothing major. But 99% of your day is great. It's the end of the day, you're getting ready for bed, you start evaluating your day like we normally do at the end. What comes up for you? The 99% that was great, or the 1% that was For most of us, it's that 1% that comes up. That's the negative bias. So I want you to think of this. For COVID and the pandemic, a lot of us feel we have this lack of control, right? And that was true. We couldn't control the illness. We couldn't control the lockdowns, how it was phasing our lives, businesses closing. We couldn't control a second wave. But we do have control over ourselves, and we have control over our mindset. Now put that up there again. I want everybody to remember that. You are in control of what you think about, your habits, your beliefs, and your patterns. That's all completely in your control. So remembering that what mood you're in is completely in your control. And that goes along with this too as well. When you have a tough situation, like pandemic, COVID, whatever it is, or something personal you're going through, if you're going through any kind of tough, struggling, challenging time, which we all do because the only constant in the world is change. So when we're going through that tough time, every tough situation has two sides to the story. Every one of them. Again, it doesn't matter if it's an illness, an injury, an accident, a loss, a move, whatever it is. Every situation has two sides. Both sides are completely based on 100% truth and fact. But you want to know which side do you stay focused in on. One side is the negative side of the story. The other one is the positive side. Now, again, you're completely in control, but you want to be mindful, where do you find yourself? For using the pandemic as an example, being that we're still in it, I have clients who are coming in the last few months during the second wave, and some are coming in and going, okay, we're in the second wave. I'm really nervous about this. The hospitals are getting busy. I'm not sure when I'll be able to get a vaccine, if I can get it. California's locking down. Philly just locked down for a month. What are we going to do? And that's 100% based on truth. That's the negative side. The other side, I have clients coming in going, okay, we're in the second wave. We knew this was going to happen. We knew it, so we planned for it. We have our technology, to wear our masks. We can stay home and work. Yes, it's getting busier, but the doctors are more prepared. And the silver lining, there's a vaccine coming. We got this. Now, both sides are completely 100% in your control, but where do you find yourself focused in on? The negative or the positive? And that's the really important thing to think about, because if you find yourself focused in, sorry, I got muted by accident. Can you hear me now? Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, because it came up on my screen that I was muted. So
My fault.
sorry. Okay. So we want you to be mindful of, thank you, everybody. I saw it in the chat. Thank you for telling me. You want to be mindful where you put yourself, because if you're focused in on the negative side of the story, you will just stay with the negative, and the negative will ruminate and it'll make more negative. Your focus will stay there. If you focus in on the positive side of the story, it doesn't mean that you don't recognize the negative. You know it's there. But when you stay focused on the positive, it means you can see the good in a bad situation. And that's so important, where you can see the purpose in a painful situation, because both of those are resiliency. And the more resilient that we get, the better it is for any other situations that come our way. It makes it easy for us to hit rock bottom and move our way out. So again, focus in on where is your focus. Be mindful of it. Remember, moods and emotions are contagious. And again, if you have kids,
Don't get them on her fucking picture, sister.
I'm trying to figure out who it is.
Whoever is not muted, could you just mute yourself? We're just hearing a lot of background noise. Sorry about that. That's the only problem with Zoom. You get all this background noise. So if you have kids or grandkids, another thing to think about is kids and grandkids, they learn from birth till the end of puberty, which could be, the end of middle school. They learn through role modeling, imitation, and observation. So they're watching you and they just imitate. So if you don't take care of yourself now, if you're not putting self-care as a priority, that's what they're seeing and that's what they're going to follow. So by you taking care of yourself, you're teaching your kids or your grandkids that self-care is a priority. So that's really important. Again, talking about women, we tend to neglect our own needs. And a lot of that is because, and not that men don't, but women tend to more because we're raised like that. Now that's starting to shift, but most of us were raised, if you watch your moms, your grandmothers, your aunts, we're raised to take care of others. We're raised to be nurturers. And it becomes our job to make sure everybody's happy. But what happens with that is a lot of times we learn to be a people pleaser. We learn to never say no because we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. We learn to put everybody first. And again, we don't want that because when we do that, it lowers our self-esteem. It makes us more stressful and it can cause anger and resentment down the road. So don't neglect your own needs. Put yourself as a priority. And remember this, self-care does not mean selfish. Two different words. Selfish does not equal self-care. They're completely different. When someone's selfish, they're not thinking of others. They're self-absorbed. When you do self-care, you're putting yourself as a priority so you can be there for others. Two different things. So just remembering that. So you don't sit there and think that you're selfish. Now for self-care, I have a bunch of self-care questions, as you can see up on the PowerPoint. And these are really important questions to ask yourself. Now, this will give you a lot of self-awareness. When you're answering these questions, and you can do it now as we go through it, or you can do it when you have time separately, whatever works for you, or however you want to do it. My suggestion is write it with a pen and paper. Write out your answers. It's more therapeutic when we actually write it out. And also, if we write out some of our goals and things we want to do, if we're writing them out, we are 42% more likely to accomplish it just by writing it out. And it makes it very concrete. But you want to ask yourself these questions. So the first one up there is, what does self-care mean to you? How do you define self-care? And again, that's such an important but an individual question. So I don't want you to compare yourself to others and say, well, this person does this, or this person gets a massage, so that might work for me. I want you to think about what self-soothes, what calms you, what makes you feel very comfortable or soothed. Everybody's completely different, and that's okay. But you want to define self-care of something that works just for you. Not for anybody else, but just for you. Now, you might want to write out a list of like the top 3 to 5 things that self-soothe you when you're in the midst of stress, anxiety, panic, nervous, worry. What calms you, what self-soothes? And that could be anything from a cup of, like I have herbal tea right next to me, be calling a friend, be taking a walk, taking a hot bath, using oils, whatever it is that makes you feel a little calmer. But knowing that and putting that in your emotional toolbox, writing that list and making sure those things are around for you. So this way, when those times come up, you're prepared. So if you already know what works for you, when you're starting to get stressed, anxious, overwhelmed, you'll know what to do. So that's why I say write a list. And it could be more than 3 to 5 things, but I've noticed a lot of my clients, 3 to 5 is a lot for them. So really thinking about, and again, individual things for you. They should all be done for you. It shouldn't be, well, I'm happy because my kids are happy, or I'm happy because my boss is happy. No, it's what works for you and you alone. And making sure that you know it, you're self-aware, and that you have those things prepared. The next question that is there is, when I think of self-care, what comes up for me? And I ask that question because I've had so many clients say, when they think of that question, like how do they define self-care? Initially, a lot of them say they get tense. I have some clients who say they feel it already in their stomach. Some people say they kind of already feel like their heart racing. And those are signs of anxiety and stress. And you want to think about why. Why does that come up for you? Or what comes up for you emotionally? Is it remembering as a child when, maybe somebody did something for themselves and, they got yelled at for it, or people called them selfish? what comes up for you? Because there might be some deep-rooted, issues in there that are holding you back from self-care. Again, it might be learned, what you learned as a child. It might be because you've tried self-care and people said things to you, or there's judgment. Is it society's judgment? Because, especially here in the New York City tri-state area, and you can tell I'm from New York. I mean, I live in Jersey now, but you can hear my accent. We are prone to the type A personality, right? That type A, which is always on the go, always moving, always has to be productive, always multitasking, fast-paced, controlling. They have to be control of everything, reach perfection, and that is unrealistic. And that type A personality sets us up for failure because we can't live our lives like that without being stressed and overwhelmed. So if, think about why it happens or what comes up for you, because the physical signs will actually show you what it means. If you're getting your stomach turning, if your heart starts racing, if you're tensing up, you're having a mix of stress or anxiety or fear. And a lot of people are afraid to say, I need self-care, or to ask for people in their house to say, I need this hour alone. I just had a client before this, and the one thing she said is, last weekend, I just wanted to watch a girl movie. That's what she said. She goes, I just wanted to watch one of those movies on like Lifetime. She goes, but my husband and kids didn't want to watch it. And I felt so bad just saying, no, I just need an hour or two to decompress and just have it for myself. And she's been holding on to that from the weekend, and it's already Tuesday. And she does this all the time, and that just makes her more resentful. She's not taking the time. It brings in some anger, some stress, and then she's saying yes instead of no, which causes stress. Just to think about this, if you constantly find yourself saying yes when you mean no, this is what it looks like. So let's say in the morning I get a call from my neighbor, and she says to me, hey, when you pick up your daughter from school, can you just pick up mine and drop her off for gymnastics? It's only like 10 minutes down the road. And I'm thinking to myself, no, I barely have enough time to get from my job to pick up my daughter. But I find myself going, yeah, okay. I hang up the phone, and what's my first emotion? I'm angry at myself because I said yes instead of no. So the first emotion, anger. Then I go through my day at work, and I'm rushing, and I'm stressed because I know I have to leave work early to get this done, and I'm feeling guilty about that. Then I get on the road and I have road rage because nobody could drive fast enough because I have to get someplace in a short amount of time. I finally get the kids, drop them off where they need to go, take a minute to breathe, and then I feel guilt for putting myself through that. So in one day, in 6 to 8 hours, maybe 9 hours, I've had anger, I've had stress, road rage, and guilt all in one day, which again just raises our levels of cortisol, our stress hormone. So that's what happens. So really be mindful. What comes up for me when I think of self-care, or when I start to do it, or making a reservation, to do, maybe I'm getting a massage or whatever it is, or I'm going to take a yoga class, whatever it is, how do I feel? Because there's a lot in there that you can learn from it. So use that as like a teachable, learnable moment. Then ask yourself this question, and it's a really important question. How burnt out am I? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being I'm not burnt at all, 10 is I am beyond burnt. Where are you? And again, you could be having pandemic burnout. You could just be having caregiver burnout, which a lot of us are during this, or in general. It could be corporate. It could be the mix of all of it. But where are you on that scale? Take a minute to think about that. On 1 to 10, 1 being the least, 10 being the most, where are you? And I've had clients say to me, can I be like a negative? Can I be a 0, a -2? Really be honest, and also ask yourself, how long have you been that way? How long have you been in that situation of feeling burnt out or close to burnout? I know for myself, I was so close to burning out right before pandemic hit. And I've heard this from other clients. A lot of us were having corporate work burnout, and pandemic almost saved some of us because we didn't have to commute. We weren't always on the road. We didn't have to travel. And it gave us some room to breathe. For others, the kids are home, they're young, they're on top of us, we're not getting any privacy. So it's different for everybody. But where are you on that burnout scale and how long have you been there? Really important. Next question, one of my favorites, is if I made self-care part of my daily, weekly routine, how would I benefit? How would my life change? And how would everybody else around me, how would their life change? So think about it this way. If I put self-care as a priority and I took care of myself as a weekly, daily routine, whatever you could do. I mean, daily is great, but if you can't, at least something once a week, and you became a little more calmer, less stressed, a little happier, how would that benefit not just you, but how would that benefit everybody around you? And that's important because, again, we always think of self-care as selfish, so we don't think about, wow, if I was happier and healthier, I think everybody else around me would be, because one, my moods and emotions are contagious, but I would be empowering. They wouldn't have to worry about walking on eggshells around me or taking care of me because I'm constantly sick. Wow, I would be in better health, better shape, better physically, mentally, emotionally, that I'd be happier and everybody around me would feel that benefit. So ask yourself, if you made self-care a priority, you felt a little better, even if you were like a 1 on the scale and you moved up to a 4 or a 3, so you're a little healthier and happier, how would you benefit? How would your life change? And how would everybody else around you be affected? Really important question. Then the next one is, what areas of your life are you lacking in? So what I mean for this is there's definitely certain areas that we're not paying attention to. So I want you to think of this. I'm going to write this up on the chat board. Oops, sorry, I can't seem to type and write at the same time. Okay. Are your basic needs met? And this is an important question because when your physical basic needs aren't met, everything else does not stay in place. You're completely off balance. And without your basic needs, everything else, working your way up to thinking about not to sound like intro to psych or intro to business, but remember in college we talked about Abraham Maslow, the hierarchy of needs, that pyramid, and the basic needs were on the bottom. Reaching your full potential was on the top, but you couldn't get even up a level until your basic needs are met. So what areas of your life are lacking? So the first one I'm going to put up there is sleep. And sleep has been one of the biggest things we've seen affected by the pandemic. Now, just a little bit about that. As an adult, even your high school, college students, we need about 7 to 8 hours. But everybody's a little individual, a little different. But this is the stat. The normal American, and this is pre-pandemic, the normal American only gets 4 to 6 hours. And I know I'm one of them. My normal is like 5.5, 6. If I get 6.5 hours, I'm like, that is an amazing night. But this is what happens. After your third night of sleeping less than 6 hours, it's like not sleeping for 24 hours straight cognitively. So your cognitive abilities are off, your attention, focus, your concentration, your memory, your moods. So sleep, really important. And a few things for sleep hygiene. Even the weekends, you want to go to bed around the same time, wake up around the same time. You want to have a really dark room, and you want your room to be as cool as possible. For some people, white noise. I am one of those. Yes, I have a little fan that I face towards the wall that goes all year, even in the freezing cold. I need that noise. It helps me sleep. But just if thinking about this, if you have problems sleeping, one, I want you to look at your night routine. Really important. Routines are so important. We need routine, schedule, and consistency. What does your night routine look like? And a few suggestions. One, you can write out your to-do list. Now, why I say to do this is because if you have a big to-do list the next day, and that could be from Zoom meetings to doctor's appointments to helping your kids, whatever it is, write it out, because if not, we'll hold on to it and it'll stick with us. It'll wake us up in the middle of the night. We can't fall asleep. It'll ruminate. So that's the first thing to do. Write out your to-do list so you don't have that on your head and it doesn't weigh on you. The next thing is I want you to think about what you're thinking about, watching, listening to 30 minutes before you go to bed. Whatever you're thinking about, watching, 20 to 30 minutes before bed affects how you sleep, if you sleep, what mood you wake up in, and what you dream. So one thing off the bat, please, no news, no media, social media, anything that provokes in you anxiety, fear, confusion, sadness, none of that. So you want something positive before bed. So again, watch whatever you're thinking about. So you can do at night instead, guided meditations are great, or anything, and I'll get a little more into it, that produces mindfulness. So reading, yes, thank you so much. Reading a book, but again, a positive book, nothing that's, documentaries and negative stuff can scare you. So as long as it's something fun, happy, lighthearted, reading is great. And again, stay away from your screens at night. Another reason to get off social media, because the screens and the light can keep you up. So those are just a few things. And if you notice that you're one of those people right before bed that has a lot of rumination, which is a lot of us, because the two main reasons we can't sleep, of course, unless you have something else going on, an illness or something, is either chronic pain, which you would deal with your doctor with for, pain management, or it's stress. So really doing something mindful at the end of the day helps us sleep. So thinking about meditations or mindfulness, reading, anything like that, but really watching your sleep. The next thing to think about is diet with your basic needs, and just a few things to watch. If you find that you're stressed, nervous, anxious, worried, any of that, you want to watch your caffeine and sugar, because caffeine and sugar make us more restless and anxious. So just watch them. I'm not saying don't have a coffee or a cookie, because I cannot live without chocolate, but just be mindful of it. If you notice you're going more towards the depression, watch your alcohol, because alcohol is a depressant. The next thing to think about, and really important one, is water. And what I mean by water is not caffeinated beverages. The only other things that count as water is flavored water, as long as there's no sugar added in it, unless it's natural sugar, like you put strawberries or a fruit in there to make the taste better, raspberries. Or it could be, I am drinking right next to me herbal tea, chamomile. Any herbal tea that's decaffeinated or broth counts as water. So a lot of us are working from home, going to school from home. So make sure you have your water or whatever it is that you're drinking next to your computer. And here's just another tip. If you notice that in the afternoons, you're getting like that afternoon blues where you just get exhausted in the afternoon. And again, unless something's wrong, you're sick, or certain meds that cause that, a lot of us are just dehydrated. So after lunch, I want you to drink 2 more glasses of water. You don't have to guzzle it. You can sip it. But what water does, it just, it takes 2 weeks for your body to adjust. So give your body about 2 weeks, but which is perfect because we're home, so we're near the bathrooms. So this is the perfect time to up your water. But water really helps with our energy, our clarity, our focus. And I've had so many clients who've done this, and then within 2 weeks, they say, wow, I'm not really tired in the afternoon, and I don't feel like I need a nap or sugar. Because when we were at work in the office or at school, a lot of people would go for a caffeinated beverage or like a vending machine snack in the afternoon. It's usually water, so do water. The next and last basic need we're talking about is exercise. And exercise is so important. We call our body the pain body because we hold all our stress, anxiety, negative emotions all on our body. And that can make us tense up, make us hold stress all over it. And the only way through that is exercise. It's movement. So, and part of the reason why I have this fake background, as you guys see, the virtual background, is because I've made my gym and office into one, hoping to motivate me. And it has a little, not as much as I would like, but you want to exercise. And here's the exact stat. If all you can do is walk, and just so you know, scientifically, one of the best ways to get mindfulness is walking. So even if all you can do is walk, here's the stat. If you can walk 4 times a week, and not a run, not a jog, just a nice walk, you can take your dog with you, 4 times a week, 20 to 30 minutes, gives you the same benefits as an anti-anxiety pill. Now, I know the weather, especially today here in Morris County, we already have snow and ice. If you don't want to walk outside, on YouTube, there is a bunch of really great walking videos or exercise videos. And I put up here Leslie Sansone. She just does walking videos. So you could just walk in place, and they have it by the time, by the mile, whatever you want. But just exercise. And if you don't want to walk, do a dance party with your kids. Whatever you want to do, exercise, release, the stress, just move. Really important, especially if you're standing in front of a screen or looking at a screen all day. Get up and move. So what areas of your life are lacking? Is diet, water, exercise, sleep, any of that lacking? What areas do I need to change? Do I need to up my water? Do I need to watch my diet? Do I need to move more? Really be aware of that. Because self-care involves those major basic needs. The next one is, what has worked for you in the past? So when you were going through other tough situations, when you were going through other tough times, whether it was last year, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, how did you self-soothe? How did you calm? Like I remember for me, I got really sick 8, 9 years ago. And what worked for me is forming a meditation routine daily. I needed to meditate daily. That's exactly what I do now because I know that it helps me calm and self-soothe. So really think about it. The other thing is while you're asking yourself, how do you define self-care and writing that list of things that self-soothe you, you could also write a list of what cultivates happiness for you. And thinking about what are the top 3 to 5 things that make me happy. And again, just things that make me happy, not everybody else. And that's not being selfish, because the happier we are, the more resilient we are. The happier we are, the more healthy we are. The happier we are, the happier everybody else will see and rub off on. So what cultivates happiness for you? And make sure when you figure out that list, some of the happiness list might reach over with the self-care list. When you know it, make sure you incorporate those things into your schedule. That's the other important thing. Because people will say, I know what makes me happy, but they haven't done it in 6 months. Find the time. You are worth it. Invest in yourself. The last one is, when was the last time you've done a self-discovery evaluation, which we're kind of doing right now. Self-discovering, becoming self-aware of what's missing in our lives, what's working, what we need. And you can ask yourself again some of these questions. What's important to you? And that's a really important question at this point, because for so many people, what was important pre-COVID, going back to like early February 2020 or 2019, is not what's important to them anymore. So many things have shifted. So what's important to you? What are some of your top strengths that you can use now to help you through a tough time? Is it perseverance? Is it persistence? Is it patience? Is it resiliency? Is it empathy? What is it? What has helped you? And what is your top strengths that you can use now? Think about it. Yes, thank you. Somebody wrote meditation. I just saw a bit of the chat board. Meditation works for a lot of people. Wow, 8 years. That's awesome. So thank you for sharing. What are your weaknesses? Do you want to work on them? Are they affecting you now? What are your quality traits, your positive attributes? You can put that all together. What do you value? What's important? What are your passions? Self-discovery is the road to self-care. When you become self-aware of what's missing, what you can use, your strengths, what you want to work on, what's lacking, then you make the changes. Without that self-awareness, it's hard to. So again, whenever you get a chance, try to do these questions. And if you were doing them right now, great. But if not, when you have some time, write out the answers to these questions. All right? So some other ones to think about. What is in your emotional toolbox, which we talked about? What are the things that self-soothe? What are the things that calm you? What are the things that cultivate happiness? But some other things to think about. Thinking about, when we think about self-care, we always think about what we have to add in. But another way of self-care is removing things from your life, removing things that don't work for you, removing things that cause you stress or that are toxic for you. That's really important. So thinking about who in your life is toxic or negative, really important question, because again, negativity is contagious. So if you have people in your life who are very toxic for you, and this is how you know when somebody's toxic. We're not talking about the person who's just going through a bad time, a person has a bad day. This is a constant thing with people when they are manipulative, controlling, judgmental, harsh. Everything is wrapped around them. They are completely self-absorbed and selfish, not an act of self-care. completely different. They're narcissist traits. They don't ask even how you are. They're always surrounded by drama, chaos, and they're always the victim. If you are surrounded by people like that, they're absolutely going to stress you and they're going to absolutely make you feel worse about yourself. So if you're not around people who are empowering you, you might want to look at your relationship. Think about the 5 people, the handful of people you spend the most time with, family, friends, coworkers, neighbors, whoever it is. Are these people empowering you or bringing you down? And really think about that, because that's a really big question in the new year. Who can you remove? Or what boundaries or limitations can you set up with people either that you don't want to remove or you can't? And this way it's healthier for you. And a complete boundary is just saying no. No is a complete sentence. No is an act of self-care. Boundaries are an act of self-care. So really thinking about that, removing people who are really narcissistic, who are really toxic for you, and also thinking about what boundaries and limitations can you set for people you either don't want to remove or you can't. And this is another way to know when something doesn't work for you or somebody is triggering you, is by how do they make you feel on your body. So we talked about before that you hold stress on your body, right? We all hold stress on our body. Use this mind-body connection as a warning sign. It's like it's really your warning. So know where you hold stress on your body. Now, I'm not sure if everybody knows, so I'll just tell you the common areas, but everybody's different. But the most common areas where we hold stress, anxiety, fear, anger, all of that, first is right here, right? Your neck, your shoulders, your backs, we tense up. That's the first. For others, it's right here in the jaw area, and this has been really common lately. And that could cause TMJ, where you open your mouth, like when you open it to yawn, it either feels like it's going to lock shut, it hurts, or it makes a cracking noise. Or I had a client a few years ago, true story, she had so much stress, her jaw locked shut. I didn't even realize it could lock shut. I thought it would lock the other way open. And she had to get muscle relaxers and live on like yogurt and soup for a little while. It could also cause ear pain, throat pain, teeth sensitivity. The next one is migraines and headaches. Another big area that I'm seeing is the stomach. And a client expressed it perfectly. She said, I feel like someone's in there wringing a washcloth. For others, again, it could just be the lowering of the immune system. You're always getting sick. Some people say they have aches and pains throughout their whole body. Know where you hold stress. When you are with somebody who's a stressor, a trigger for you, you will feel it on your body. That is the warning sign that you have. That is a tool that should be in your toolbox. Where do I hold stress? And pay attention to it. If I'm watching too much media or social media, how do I know when it's affecting me? When I feel it on my body. Because we all have the defense mechanisms, right? Denial, avoidance, escape, fantasy, all of that, numbness. And we can do that mentally and emotionally, but our bodies are completely aware. So be in tune of that. And think about it. If there are things where people who are constantly stressing you and triggering you, how can you prevent that or remove them from your life? The other thing that matches that is, what is something I can let go of that's not serving me? Bad habits, patterns, food I'm eating, people I'm spending time with. Thinking about even looking at 2020, being that we're still in the beginning of the new year, looking and saying, what didn't serve me in 2020? What do I no longer want to hold on to? What don't I want to bring with me into the new area, into new, my next chapter, the new year? Next question is, in what areas of my life am I trading or being authentic, my true self, for safety or security? So another one to think about is, am I letting fear control me? And a great way to stop that, and this can be another kind of tool, is to take a risk, to step outside your comfort zone. Now, everybody's comfort zone is completely different. Like, I speak for a living, so public speaking, I've had students tell me they'd rather die than public speak. Not that big a deal for me. But heights, big one. Everybody has different, fears. So one of the things is just asking yourself every day, wake up and say to yourself, how can I step outside my comfort zone today? Or you could say, what is one new thing I can do today? What is one risk? Now, we want those risks to be little baby steps, micro steps. You know, I'm afraid of heights. I don't want you jumping out of a plane. You'd be cursing me out the whole way down. I want you to take baby steps, whatever it is. And it could be as simple as trying something new that you would never do, trying a new food, a new drink, a new route to work. You always read fiction, reading nonfiction. It could be that small. But every time we step outside of our comfort zone, we grow. What happens is when we stay stuck in our comfort zones, we feel stuck, stale, stagnant, lost. But when we expand and we grow, we actually feel better in life. We don't feel stuck, and it stops fear from paralyzing us. Fear can paralyze us. And when fear does and we don't move and we get that stuck feeling, that can lead to blah, depression. We don't want that. So every day, ask yourself, how can I step outside my comfort zone and not let fear trap me or paralyze me? And another great thing to remember, another stat, is 90% of what you fear, big number, 90% of what you fear never happens anyway. So don't let fear trap you. And then the last one is, how do I feel when I'm alone or I'm spending time with myself? That is a self-care act. We all need to be able to enjoy being with ourselves, taking ourselves on a date, just doing things by ourselves, whether it's watching the movie like my client wanted to, whether it's going and grabbing lunch by yourself, whether it's to go, because we don't feel comfortable sitting someplace, taking a walk by yourself. But we all need time to decompress, and we have to learn to love ourselves. And one of those key is to spend time alone and to do self-care for yourself. That is lifting up your self-esteem. So I'm going to stop now, and there's so many ways. Some of these we've gone over, but it's almost 10:02, and I promised I would leave time for questions. And of course, I could babble forever. Some of this we went over already, but I want to put this up here. If you have any questions, thoughts, or comments, want a copy of this, you think about anything later, that is my email. It's dlcounseling@2014@gmail. And please feel free to email me with any questions, thoughts, or comments, and I will absolutely get back to you. And now I'm going to stop sharing the slide because for some reason my chat board's not working anymore. Sometimes when the PowerPoint's up, you can't see the chat. It keeps going on and off. So I'm going to stop sharing, and this way I can see the chat board. Okay, so if anybody has thoughts, questions, or comments, you can either put it in the chat board or feel free to unmute yourself. I can only do one at a time, but Mary Ellen, you came up first. Do you have a question? I see your name up on here. I don't know if you do, or if you want to ask a question, please unmute yourself. If you would like a copy of this, you could just email me. I'll put my email in the chat board. Or I just had it up, but it's here too. And if you email me, I'll send it to you. Absolutely. Yes, Mary Ellen.
I have a question.
Sure.
I recently became unemployed, and I'm having a really hard time with that. I do want to get another job, yet if I get another job, it's going to be less than unemployment's going to give me. And I know that's, and then I feel like, well, so money hungry, but it's not that. It's just that I feel like I should be able to collect that for a few months and not feel guilty about that because I've been working for a long time. So how do you deal with that?
So that's, you're having a guilt reaction. And I
Right.
think part of the guilt is a few things. One, it's normal to feel guilt. So don't hate yourself for it. That's like people get upset when they feel guilty, but guilt is normal. Guilt is also a sign that you're stepping outside your comfort zone. You've always worked. You've always, been productive. And for some reason, people feel if they take a few months off of work, whether it's they lost their job or they take a break, people think, oh, I'm not being productive. But that's not true. It's what do you want to do with that time? Did you need that time because you were burning out? Do you need this time to work on something else, whether it's personal or spiritual? What do you want to do with that time that's positive for you? And give yourself that time. We're all allowed to take it. And you're right, you work for so long. If you want to take a few month break and figure out what you want to do, that's great. There's nothing wrong. But we always feel, it's kind of like when somebody says no. The first time people say no, they freak out. They're like, oh my God, I said no.
Mhm.
But that's an act of self-care. It takes a few weeks of practice before you feel comfortable doing it. So when you feel guilty, anybody, for over anything, don't go down that judgmental, vicious cycle of what's wrong with me, I'm doing this. Don't judge it. Accept what it is. You lost your job. You'll look in a few months, but you want a few months break, and everybody is allowed, and that is okay. But you don't need my permission. Give yourself permission. Really important. Brain Food, I've never read it, but it's a good diet book for seniors. So thank you for sharing if anybody wants it. Okay, so I just saw a Thunderbird. Thank you. For a lot of people, this happens a lot. A lot of people, when I ask them, how do they cultivate happiness? I get from so many people, I don't even know. And this is amazing. Like 10 years ago, we did research on this, and I had 100 people in a room. Youngest, I think, was 18. The oldest was like 69 or 70. And when I said, what cultivates happiness? No one was writing. I'm like, what's going on here? After a few more minutes, we saw people trying to cheat off people who were writing. And I'm like, what is going on? No cheating. I'm just asking you how you cultivate happiness. And this lady in the back room popped up. I remember this. And she said, it's not that I'm cheating. I just don't remember what brings me happiness. What happens is as we get older, even in our 20s, we start realizing we have to take care of everybody else, right? We have to take care of our kids, our spouse, we have a house, mortgage, and we forget what makes us happy. I want you to think about a few things. If you don't know what makes you happy, hobbies, all that, one, look back to your childhood. What made you happy then before reality hit? I mean, that could be your teens, even early 20s. What did you love to do? And you could also think about what did you love to do and then tweak it to make your reality, because you can't do it. Like one of my clients said, I love acting. I wanted to be an actress. I didn't make it. I'm in my 50s. I'm not going to go for that as a career now. But what can I do? And we tweaked it that she does local theater. She doesn't get any pay for it, but she does what she loves. She's surrounded by people who have the same interest as her. So think about what did you love to do and tweak it if you still like it, even if it doesn't fit exactly with your new life. The other thing to think about is what causes flow. And I'm going to put this word up here in the chat board. I don't know if everybody's heard of it. And that was one of the tips on there. Flow is an activity that you do, and it could be any type of activity that does two things for you. You enjoy it immensely, but it also challenges you just a little. So all your attention, your focus, your concentration's on that activity. You're getting so much enjoyment out of it, and it gives you that sense of timelessness, right? So even though you think you've only been doing it a half hour, it's like 2 hours past because you're so wrapped up in it. And when you're in that, you get mindfulness. You're not thinking about anything else. You're not having negative thoughts. You're in flow. So ask yourself what causes flow. And for a lot of people, it's physical stuff like exercise, sports. For others, it's more the creative side, reading a book, writing, dancing, listening to music, writing poetry. It's whatever. Some people call it in the zone. But whatever it is, I have people tell me cooking, baking does it for them. I have a client who says cleaning. I can't imagine that cleaning causes flow, but if it does for anybody, I got plenty of flow over here. You can come over anytime. But whatever it is for you, remember, is it something that you love that causes timelessness and you find all your attention and focus and concentration totally immersed in it? That's flow. And that will produce mindfulness. And really a big suggestion for everybody is to do one mindfulness activity a day. Really important. Now, a little bit about mindfulness. Mindfulness is when you're in the present moment. You're using your conscious mind. We spend 95% of our day on autopilot, just doing and going without thinking. Like, remember when we used to drive to work back in the good old days? You would drive to work, you would drive home. Do you ever get home and not remember your ride? You're like, did I pass the mall on the way home? Did I stop at the stop sign? We've all done it. It's autopilot. You just do it. You don't even remember it. Sometimes people say, I don't remember what I talked about in that conversation with my best friend. What did I eat for lunch again? You just autopilot it. And we spend 95% of our day there. But we are our most productive, our healthiest, our happiest and creative when we're in the moment, when we're in the here and now. We have the ability to be there a little more. Autopilot's great because you don't want to have to concentrate in everything you do, but we want to get out of it. We want breaks of it. Mindfulness does that. And it's good for a few reasons, because when we're stressed and anxious, we're usually either in the past, right? Thinking about what we should have done, what we could have done, regrets, or we're carrying all that past baggage with us, or we're in the future where a lot of us are because of COVID with what we call anticipatory anxiety, worrying about what could be. But when I'm here, I'm pretty good. I'm pretty happy. Now, the other thing about mindfulness is when you think of like meditation, yoga, chair yoga, all of that, those are intentional practices of being mindful. So they're wonderful, but you don't have to do them. There's a million ways to be mindful. If you're doing them, great. But mindfulness, just so you know, there's so many different ways. It reduces your stress hormone cortisol. It lowers your blood pressure, reduces chronic pain, calms you, brings you to the here and now. So I'm just going to give you a simple. Deep breathing is a form of mindfulness. And a really simple, I'll put it up here as the name. If you want to do a meditative deep breathing breath, all it is taking a deep breath in through your nose, holding, and then exhaling through your mouth. That is all a deep breath is. If you take a deep breath in, hold, exhale. Now, if you're really stressed or anxious, you could do what we call the 1, 2, 3 technique. And it's the same thing. You're taking a deep breath in through your nose, holding, and exhaling, but you're doing everything for a count of 3. So you breathe in for a count of 3, you hold for a count of 3, and you exhale for a count of 3. Now, obviously, if you're in a safe spot and you're not driving, if you close your eyes, it's even more relaxing. Deep breathing will just calm all the anxiety. It brings you back to the moment. So you could just do deep breathing. Walking, as we talked about, is one of the scientific best ways of mindfulness. Yoga, chair yoga, meditation. Now, if you want to do a guided meditation, and I suggest guided, and what we mean by guided is someone's talking to you or there's music on, and they guide you through it. The only thing you need is headphones or earphones, whatever you want to use. That's all that makes it better. There's so many free ways. I have my clients just use YouTube. I just find it the easiest with the biggest selection. You just go on YouTube and you type in guided meditation, 6 billion, not even exaggerate, will come up. But I'll give you a few of the suggestions my clients like. Everybody seems to, no matter their age, loves Deepak Chopra. Don't know why. Bunch of them all for free. If you want a girl's voice, there's Lillian Eden. People seem to love her. If you are a beginner, you could try The Honest Guys. Now, if you are a beginner, and they're all on YouTube for free, and you've never meditated before, just do really short amount of time, 3 to 5 minutes, 4 to 6 minutes, till you work your way up, because it can make you restless if you're not used to sitting still. The other thing with meditation is, or mindfulness, there's no right or wrong. Don't judge it, don't analyze. It doesn't matter what time you do, which you do. It's just doing it. It's just putting in the effort. So don't worry about it. Don't judge it. Don't be harsh about it. Don't say I do it wrong, because there is no right or wrong. But if you are new at it, I just suggest do a few minutes, unless it feels natural for you. And just, even if you just did 5-6 minutes a day, you would still get benefits from it.
Diane, I just want to interrupt here for a second because we're running out of time, and I'll be quick.
Sorry.
I'm going to no, don't be sorry. I'm going to intercept here with the Union Public Library commercial, which is to say we have yoga and meditation online on our site.
Oh.
If you go to www.uplnj, I'll put this in .org. I will make sure you can look under events. We have lots of these events because we're very aware among ourselves and certainly among everybody that stress is a problem. We also have a video on our Facebook page on Do You Dream of Sleep, which was very useful information about how people sleep. I just want to say coming up next month, which is almost here, we have Frank Sinatra, the Negro Baseball League, costumes and design from someone who's worked at the Metropolitan Opera and Broadway, a history of race relations in Union County, gaming, and a Q&A on employment and taxes. And if you want to be on the newsletter to get all of these programs, be sure just put it in the chat, put your email in chat, reply to the email I sent out, let Diane know, and I'll get you on. And finally, I want to say, don't forget to like us on Facebook. We're all about Facebook these days. I'm not closing here, but Diane, thank you so much. This has been so helpful and really great. But feel free to continue, please.
Well, I'll just wrap it up with this because you're right. I didn't realize what time it is. But with the guided meditations, just another suggestion, if anybody wants it, if you don't want to use YouTube, there's apps, and I'll put some free ones in here. It's up to you. You know, you can use it. But the first one is, it is Calm. And again, just so you know, all of these have a free and a paid. You don't have to do the paid. There's also Insight Timer. I'm trying to write them at the same time. Sorry about that. And Headspace. Also, if you have Spotify or Pandora, they have them on there already. And the other thing to remember, if you don't like guided meditations, you can do nature sounds. You could just Google in, you know, on YouTube, nature sounds and get like the beach. Some people like the wind, the hurricane. Some people like rain, thunderstorms, and that works for people. So I'm sorry that I babbled to you. I think I just sent everything to private. Sorry about that. So it's Calm. I'll put them up there again. Headspace and Insight Timer. Again, if anybody has any questions, thoughts, or comments, feel free to email me because I know we're out of time. Or if you want a copy, just let me know. Email me. I'll put my email up there one more time for everybody. And just want to say thank you to Debbie at the library. Thank you so much for having me. It's been wonderful. I always appreciate doing the libraries. It's my favorite to do. And thank you everybody for being here and for listening. And thank you. And I hope everybody has a great day, great week, and stay safe, especially today in the snow, and stay warm. But thank you guys so much. And thank you again, Union. And have a great day.
And thank you, Diane.
Oh, hey, I didn't even see you before. Hi, thank you for coming.
Wouldn't miss it.
It's you.